All through the night, promise to see
Yahshua.
in the morning light. Take my hand, it'll be alright. Come on, save your soul tonight. Thunder, all through the night, promise to see
Yahshua.
in the morning light. Take my hand, it'll be alright. Come on, save your soul tonight.
Behold, the sign of the coming of the Son of Man.
But then he said something I had to just take. I thought, now how could he possibly know this, Chuck? He says that extraterrestrial intelligence discovery will not challenge the authority of the Roman Catholic Church. Extraterrestrial intelligence discovery will not challenge the authority of the Roman Catholic Church. How could you know that? Right? Unless you've made some kind of Mephistophelian bargain, some Faustian deal with some power that you happen to think is an extraterrestrial intelligence, how could you already know it's not going to challenge the authority of the Roman Catholic Church? That is a very mysterious statement, but...
But he will not win, no he will lose. Christ will drop him, then he'll reboot. The heavens and the earth, everything's new. The city's walls and ghost streets will be see-through. A tree of healing for the nations, we will eat the fruit. No sun, no stars in the green room, just the glory of God in his people. No pain, no sorrow, no evil. No death, no tomorrow, no greed, dude. No shame, no boredom, no seas blue. Dear Lord, I don't know when I'ma see you, but I can't wait, and I pray that it'll be soon.
You hear that like the flash, you hear that thunder roll. Can't wait to Christ back. This song should come to those who hope the righteous path, who had a love of those. This ain't to Christ, relax. Yeah, when that trumpet blows, when that trumpet blows, yeah, when that trumpet blows, when that trumpet blows, yeah, when that trumpet blows, when that trumpet blows, yeah, when that trumpet blows. This ain't to Christ, relax. Yeah, when that trumpet blows.
we were looking at asteroids. Right close to this thing, there's asteroids that are floating around right near that are orbiting the main sun itself. These things appear to be about 500 miles across. And as you go back into the tail, you get into meteorites that go back for millions of miles in the tail. I guarantee you there's trillions of meteorites following this thing, and that this thing will probably be about 20 million miles from us when it crosses in front of us. And then as soon as it flips us upside down, we're going to go into its debris field tail and be pelted with meteorites. And, of course, in the Bible it says they will talon 70 pounds. So if you've got 70-pound meteorites falling like hail, and I can guarantee you they will be falling like hail because there are that many in the tail of this thing. This thing has got a tail loaded with trash. I mean, it's incredible the amount of stuff that's in this thing's tail. And we're going to go right through that tail, and if it doesn't beat everything on the surface of the ground into a flat putty, I don't know what it'll take. I tell everybody, you better be at least 20, 30, 40, 50 feet on the ground and have either concrete or stone above you, because it'll break through the roof or whatever you've got if you don't. And you can see the planets circulating it. Now, I'll tell you one thing that I really am nervous about. I think this thing's got a planet like ours circling it. This is its own solar system. We're about to have a solar system come through the middle of our solar system. This can't be good.
I don't want to be around for that day.
It's tragic how in just a few short centuries, the wonderful light that had been blazing from the luminous bride of Christ had been eclipsed by pagan traditions. Now, a very different kind of woman emerged to take her place.
And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of abominations, and the filthiness of her fornication. And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I marveled with great amazement.
In Revelation chapter 17, John sees a woman who he describes as strikingly different from the pure woman of Revelation 12. Who is this new bloodthirsty harlot? And what about the bizarre beast that she's riding? If you're not sitting down, this might be the time to do so. You may find what you're about to hear a bit shocking. There's only one empire, one church, one institution that matches the criteria in this prophecy: the Roman Catholic Church. This does not mean that all the people within this faith are bad, insincere, or lost. The Catholic people are among the most kind and have accomplished a phenomenal amount of good throughout history. This is really about a bigger struggle between spiritual powers and institutions battling over the truth of Scripture. But now we need to pull back the veil and really take a hard look at the facts. In Revelation 17:1, we observe this harlot woman sits on many waters. Fortunately, the angel explains the meaning of this symbol for us in verse 15.
Then he said to me, The waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues.
So the woman reigns over a densely populated civilization. You've probably heard the expression, all roads lead to Rome. During the zenith of their rule, the Romans had built a network with 50,000 miles of roads circulating throughout the entire empire. Just as imperial Rome began to unravel, the church in Rome was gaining in strength.
In effect, the Catholic Church kind of rushes in to fill the power vacuum that is left by the fall of the Roman Empire.
And you get into situations where, for example, in the middle of the 5th century, when Attila the Hun is advancing on the city of Rome with his army, the emperor is not the one who goes out to stop him. The Pope is, the Bishop of Rome. This kind of prominence, political prominence as well as religious prominence, comes to really define the Pope's role.
The prophecy also indicates that the woman is riding a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. Obviously, these things are symbols. So what do these 7 heads and 10 horns represent?
The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings.
There is only one city in the world that sits on 7 hills like this, one major city, and that's the city of Rome. So there is no doubt in most expositors' minds that when John is talking about this woman, he is talking about Rome.
So you see the connection here. 7 heads, 7 mountains. You go in Revelation 12, 7 heads. Revelation 13 deals with 7 heads. There is a continuity here.
It is within the city of Rome, called the City of 7 Hills, that the entire area of Vatican State proper is now confined.
There is only one church that is also an independent country and has political world power, the Vatican. This country, with the world's smallest population, was established as an independent state with 109 acres within Rome. Behind the walls of Vatican City, there are less than 1,000 people living within this small country that is governed by the Pope, who has absolute executive, legislative, and judicial powers. ambassadors from around the world meet with the Pope and his representatives, seeking the influence and guidance of this international religious power. Even the United Nations will assemble to be addressed by the Pope. When the Western Roman Empire fell, their territory fragmented into 10 primary divisions. The 10 horns represent the 10 kings or kingdoms into which Imperial Rome was eventually split.
The 10 horns are a description of Rome, which breaks up into 10 smaller kingdoms. So you have the church riding on a political power. You have a union of church and state.
The names of blasphemy is another key element to this prophecy that points directly at the Roman Catholic Church.
We hold upon this earth the place of God Almighty.
This puts a mortal man in a position of God and is ultimately the very definition of blasphemy. This is not meant to question the sincerity of any specific pope, but the prophecy is addressing the office that he holds and the institution he represents. The woman is also clothed in unique colors.
She has specific colors that are mentioned here, not the color of white anymore. But now we have colors that represent, strangely enough, two things: royalty and prostitution. And specific colors that we happen to see coming out in the historic Christian church later on, in the colors of the priests of the historic Christian church.
Not only were these the principal colors of the Roman Caesars, but according to the Catholic Encyclopedia, purple is the official color of bishops, and scarlet for cardinals. In addition to the scarlet and the purple, we see that this harlot or corrupt church possesses vast mineral riches. When one considers its countless artistic treasures of gold, silver, and pearls, the Roman Catholic Church is by far the wealthiest religious institution on earth. Every year, tourists come from around the world to view the glittering opulence of the Roman Church. Another disturbing mark of this woman is found in verse 6.
I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus.
History reveals that the Roman Church was the worst oppressor of Christians and Jews over the centuries. In fact, historians tell us over 50 million martyrs fell victim to the terrible inquisitions and persecutions of the Church of Rome.
So what we have here is a prophecy saying that the church would engage in incredible persecution. And that's exactly what took place.
And the church started a legal process, a legal system known as Inquisition, to interrogate these people, to force as many as possible to recant and retract their ideas, and to grab hold of the leaders of the movement and to stop them spreading any further.
The highest number of deaths ever recorded occurred when the church persecuted those who disagreed with it.
And that level of repression continues through the Middle Ages.
So this woman, or church, is a persecuting power that oppresses Christ's true followers.
here in front of me for the discussion. This is what they brought them together for. And imagine this. This scientific body is 350 years old. They've never done this before, but 90 days after the Vatican, they came together to discuss, quote, the detection of extraterrestrial life and the consequences for science and society. And at the time, Lord Martin Rees, who was the head of the Royal Society and also the Astronomer Royal, the astronomer to the Queen, he said, sorry, I went a little, I almost said gay on you there for a minute, but Homeland Security is on the way to the door. Shut us down. Hate speech. Now, what that did to my brain, I may never recover from. To discuss the detection of alien intelligence. Well, of course, following those two back-to-back meetings, media around the world were in a frenzy. They wanted to talk to some of those people. Why is the Vatican asking what the impact is going to be on faith and religion given the detection of extraterrestrial intelligence? And why are all of the members of the oldest science body in the world coming together to talk about the detection? And so the Vatican sent out Gabriel Jose Funes, the head of the Vatican Observatory Research Group, who immediately started lobbing these little softballs out there to the media. Oh, well, it's just in case, you know, the Vatican's made some mistakes in the past. We don't think we want any more, issues with trampling on scientific thought and blah, 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 blah. But then he starts saying some important things. As in, he says, however, the extraterrestrial is our brother. And furthermore, he said, it is not only not incompatible with Christianity to believe in extraterrestrial intelligence, but he said, if you do not believe in extraterrestrial intelligence, that is the heresy, because, he said, it puts limits on God's creative ability. And that began what has been a slow process over the last 3 years of what is kind of a developing scheme, if you will, in theological arguments at the Vatican. But keep this in mind, some of these are Opus Dei level theologians who write theology for the Pope's University in Rome. And when you see some of the stuff they're writing right now, it'll put cold chills down your spine. But then he said something I had to just take, I thought, how could he possibly know this, Chuck? He says that extraterrestrial intelligence discovery will not challenge the authority of the Roman Catholic Church. How could you know that? Right? Unless you've made some kind of Mephistophelian bargain, some Faustian deal with some power that you happen to think is an extraterrestrial intelligence, how could you already know it's not going to challenge the authority of the Roman Catholic Church? That is a very mysterious statement, but maybe he knew a little something about what another priest was saying. And this guy was no Johnny-come-lately either, Monsignor Caroldo Balducci. He was the official spokesperson for the Vatican on the subject of UFOs and aliens. And he died about 3 years ago under mysterious circumstances. Just before he died, he was out there on Italian television. He partook in a documentary that was made here in the U.S. And guess what he was saying? He was saying the aliens exist and they are here now. As an exorcist for the church, he said they're not angels and they're not demons. These are advanced people, if you will, and they are morally superior to us. This is an argument that they continue to make, and they're becoming more and more adamant about it, that what we know about ourselves is that we are fallen, right? But we could not necessarily assume the same thing about our space brethren, and if they're unfallen, they're closer to God than we are. Therefore, they have a better understanding of the gospel and of the Godhead and of the nature of God. And when they started out 3 years ago, Funes was saying, I'd like to baptize an alien into the Catholic faith. Well, that's not what they're saying today. What they're saying is they are coming here and they're going to baptize us into their faith, and it is going to require us to make changes to our knowledge, to our understanding of the gospel. In fact, some of their deepest theologians have said perhaps everything we think we know about the gospel is going to have to be thrown out. onefold. But he then uses this to again quote from his own book, in that he says, perhaps it is not so far-fetched to see the second person of the Trinity, the Word, talking about Jesus, who was present in the beginning, John 1:1, coming to lay down his life and to take it up again, John 10:18. Look at this. Not only as the Son of Man. Now he's talking about aliens here. That's all we're talking about. As the Son of Man, but also as a child of these other races. And here's the email I sent back to him. I said, Brother Cosmonalgo, really? Do Vatican scholars actually believe that Jesus might have been the star child of an alien race? Do you and other Jesuits secretly hold that the virgin birth was in reality an abduction scenario in which Mary was impregnated by E.T., giving birth to the hybrid Jesus? And he would not answer that question, but in fact, that is exactly what he says. Well, bottom line, during our investigation, we compiled... But he makes this argument, how a contact with spiritual ETs is not going to immediately oblige the Christians to renounce their faith in God simply on the basis of the reception of new, unexpected information of a religious character from extraterrestrial civilizations, but that such a renunciation could come soon after, as the new religious content originating from outside the earth is confirmed as reasonable and credible. How in the world would you confirm alien information as reasonable and credible? Again, it goes back to, I think they have a deal with somebody. But in any case, once the trustworthiness of the information has been verified, the believer would have to reconcile such new information with the truth that he or she already knows and believes on the basis of the revelation of the one and triune God, conducting a rereading of the gospel inclusive of the new data. Well, I think the Bible has some intriguing things to say about all this too. Very quickly, the Antichrist will appear with all lying signs and wonders, 2 Thessalonians 2:9. Secondly, his coming will be marked by fearful sights and great signs from heaven, Luke 21:11. Also, don't forget the Bible tells us that men's heart will fail them for fear, for seeing those things that are coming upon the earth. Thirdly, the Antichrist and false prophet will be aligned with the powers of the air and able to call down fire from heaven. Fourthly, and this is one of the more intriguing ones, is Daniel, who says that the Antichrist will champion worship of a strange alien god. Daniel 11:38 through 39, in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange god. And the Hebrew language here, Chris Putnam would verify, the Hebrew text there can literally be translated an alien god. Well, as a result of these verses and ongoing investigation into Petrus Romanus and Exa Vaticana, I have come to suspect one thing and to believe three others. Number one, I suspect that a form of great deception is at our doorstep, and the world's most politically powerful church seems to be playing into the hands of evil supernaturalism. It is obvious now that the Vatican is preparing for, even perhaps monitoring from Mount Graham, the approaching of an alien savior. I suspect that. But I believe that much of the UFO and especially alien abduction phenomenon is demonic, part of a great setup, the likes of which the world is unprepared for, and that could overwhelm the average person's senses in the not too distant future.
All through the night, promise to see
Yahshua.
in the morning light.